Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, day 3 of the suffering. It's 5:30 in the morning. I've been up for about 3-4 minutes. It's time to get this cardio in. I'm gonna do this for another 20 minutes this morning. And I actually weighed in at 229 pounds. So Monday I was 235. It's Wednesday, I'm 229, so my weight's coming down pretty fast, but I know it's going to plateau here in the next probably day or two, and it's going to start coming down a lot slower. Just all that water weight, all that waste that's coming down. So, all right, let me get this cardio in, and I'll see you guys in a minute. We are done with day 3 morning cardio. So this is day 3, waking up at 5:30 a.m. and doing cardio for 20 minutes on the Stairmaster. I just got done doing 20 minutes on level 3, and I gotta tell you, this morning was a little hard getting out of bed. It hasn't been too bad waking up, getting out of bed Monday, Tuesday, but today it was definitely a little challenging to get out of bed. But once I got out of bed and got on the Stairmaster, it wasn't so bad. Once I actually started moving, it wasn't bad at all. And again, I don't know what it is about morning cardio, but it goes by so incredibly fast. So fast compared to the evenings. And then I'll tell you this much too, as far as it goes for the diet. You know, I'm not doing any salts or sodium or seasoning of any sort when it comes to my food. So everything's really bland. The flavor is not bad, especially when you're hungry. It's really enjoyable. You can tell when you're hungry or versus you're craving, because I said this yesterday. If you're hungry and you eat bland food, it's going to taste good because you're actually legitimately hungry. If you're not hungry and you're just craving food, well, it's not going to taste good. It's going to taste incredibly terrible, incredibly bad, because you're not actually hungry for food. You just want flavor. But I was starting to cramp yesterday evening. I'll say the only drawback to not getting sodium or doing any salt in my food, besides what's actually naturally in the food or put in there from manufacturing or whatever, which everything I'm eating doesn't have sodium because it's just raw ingredients, is the cramping. I wasn't cramping like horribly bad, but I did start getting tight in my leg yesterday during cardio. And then even after cardio, just laying down in the evening hanging out, my legs were starting to get extremely crampy. Another thing I noticed too is I feel like I'm constantly bloated and my stomach is distended. Constantly feel like I'm like, ugh. And I know it's because of all the fiber. Oatmeal, that causes gastric distress and bloating and then distension of the stomach. And then brown rice causes bloating and distension of the stomach because all the fiber. So I know that I'm going to feel super gassy and bloated and like, ugh. But it's all part of it. And also too, it could be the supplements, because I started taking my supplements yesterday. So yesterday was day 2, but it was my first day taking creatine, arginine, and glutamine throughout the day, and then taking beta-alanine before my workout. And since I took that stuff 3 times during the day, I know creatine can cause bloating in some people and some individuals. It can cause like a mild intestinal bloating, but again, after a couple days or a week or so, your body should get used to that, and then the bloat and the gastric distress should go away. And I already know that eating all this fiber, I'm going to be bloated for about 2 weeks. I'm going to be gassy and bloated and feeling distended, but once 2 weeks rolls around, my body should adapt to all the fiber and everything that I'm eating, and then all that should kind of go away. Now, I'm not saying it's going to go away as if I was eating non-gastral distress foods, like low gas foods like bell peppers and white rice and stuff like that. But your body will adapt to it and it won't be so hard on your intestines. Now, if you don't adapt to it and you're eating brown rice and you're getting stomach aches and stomach pains and stomach cramps, and you're eating oatmeal and you're getting stomach aches and stomach pains and stomach cramps, and they won't stop and they won't go away, chances are you have a mild allergic reaction to them, like a food allergy. Not saying you're allergic, like, oh man, this is a horrible allergy, run to the doctor and get a steroid shot. No, it's not that. It's just that your body may not be capable of digesting, just like some people are lactose intolerant and they can't digest milk. You can drink milk, you can eat ice cream, you can do all that, but it causes stomach issues and stomach pains and stomach cramps and boo-boo belly. So if you're getting boo-boo belly from eating milk and eating lactose, the best thing to do is to stop eating lactose and either find a substitute or lactose-free food, or start taking the lactate enzyme to help you digest it. I don't really know if there's any digestive enzymes to help you digest like wheats and whole grains like oatmeal and brown rice, but if you are experiencing that kind of stuff, then after about 2 weeks, if it doesn't stop and your body doesn't adapt to it and adjust to it, I suggest stopping eating those foods, because it's just going to continue to bother you. I mean, you can try to stretch it out for like another week or so, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and see if your body adapts. But in most cases that I've seen, it doesn't. You'll just continuously get those issues. So that's whenever I will decide to switch something out, is if my body doesn't adapt to it and I continue to get stomach irritation, because having stomach pains and stuff like that it's not fun. It's not fun. Also, the only time I had heartburn yesterday, speaking of stomach issues, the only time I had heartburn yesterday was right at 12:30. I had heartburn, and then after 12:30, 11:30. I'm sorry. I had it at 11:30, about 30 minutes before lunch, and then I ate, and then my heartburn went away. That never came back for the rest of the day. I haven't had any issues with any indigestion or heartburn this morning, so it's day 3. And like I said, normally day 3, day 4, my body will adapt to the diet, and then the heartburn will just go away, and I won't ever have an issue with it again. So hopefully that is today. If I get heartburn, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so it is 6 o'clock now. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off so I can eat. 9 o'clock. So here's my first chicken and rice meal, second meal of the day, first chicken and rice meal. And it is bland as ever. And I tell you what, this is not good. Look, I messed up yesterday. Look at how much rice I have. That's a lot. So what I do is I actually measure the rice out raw, which is 8 ounces of brown rice. Then I add my water, well, I add my oil, and then I add my water, and I cook it. Well, yesterday I was cooking it in a rice cooker instead of a pot. Normally I just do it on a pot in the stove, and I just keep an eye on it. Well, I have this new rice cooker I've never used, so I was like, man, I got this rice cooker. Let me go ahead and use the rice cooker. Well, I had no idea how much water to add. I should have looked at the manual. So I was just like, that's enough. So I was letting it cook while I was out in the gym working out. When I get done working out, I come in, there's still a bunch of water in the pot. I'm just kind of like, crap. So I went ahead and turned it back on, let it cook some more, let the water evaporate, open it up, let it cool down, and it swelled up massively. And now it's like this porridge-like mush. And normally that 8 ounces will turn into 24 ounces. So I'll get 3 meals of 8 ounces. So the 8 ounces raw turns into 24 ounces, which divided between 3 meals ends up being 8 ounces per meal, about 8.5 ounces. But this in particular day, it's at right at 13.5 ounces per meal, 13.5, 14 ounces per meal. Now it's the same amount of calories. I didn't gain any more calories. It's not like I'm eating more calories because the volume's more. It's just there's so much water, the rice was able to swell up to a massive amount, and it retained a lot of moisture, so the weight is a lot heavier. So keep that in mind when you're cooking your rice, like I do. I always measure it dry and then add my water, because if you cook it and then you measure it out after it's cooked, you don't know if you're actually getting the amount that you're supposed to be getting, because there's times that I'll cook my rice and instead of having exactly 8 ounces per meal, I'll have like 8 ounces per meal, and there's like a whole cup left over with the rice. So I just divide that between my meals. Other times it might be 7 ounces per meal, and I run out of rice doing 7 ounces. I'll do 8, and then I don't have nearly enough, so I have to cut it back to 7 ounces per meal. So whenever I measure out my food, I always do it raw no matter what it is. So that way I know I'm getting the exact amount of food and calories per meal, and it's not like a guess. Because like I said, depends on how much water you put in there and how long you cook it is how much it's going to swell up to. So let me eat this delicious bland food, and I'm going to go on my walk. Well, even though I messed up on the rice and there was a massive amount of volume compared to what I normally eat, it wasn't bad because I was actually really hungry for that meal. And I'm actually still pretty hungry right now, even after eating it. And since I put too much water and I overcooked it, not overcooked it, I guess overcooked. But anyway, since there was so much water, it swelled up so much, it was really moist. So it wasn't a problem with it being dry. So I mixed it all with the chicken, and it actually helped bring some moisture to the chicken. So the chicken was a lot easier to eat because of how much moisture was in the rice. But I still had to drink water after chewing to be able to get that chicken down, because it's like trying to swallow cardboard mixed with sandpaper sometimes, at least to me, because I'm just not a big fan of chicken breast. I'm a fan of what it does for you. I'm just not a fan of the flavor of it and everything. So I'm gonna take it as a win today, but I'm gonna adjust the water tonight when I cook my rice so it comes out correct, because I don't want it to be a massive amount of volume like that. I want it to be more consistent with my meals and keep it conform, like uniformed every single day. So, but all right, I'm gonna finish this walk and continue my day. It is lunchtime. So I gotta take my supplements first, and then I can start eating my wonderful chicken and rice, because we all know how much I love chicken breast. There's 4 grams of arginine. In case you can't tell, I'm sarcastic about the chicken breast. I hate chicken breast. There's 5 grams of creatine and 3 grams of glutamine. Okay, now we got that out the way. Show y'all I got here on the menu. Some more amazing boiled chicken and brown rice, and it looks like way more brown rice than usual, because that's, like I said earlier, I just really overdid it with the water. While we're talking about supplements, if you guys are wondering what I do for a pre-workout, my pre-workout is actually coffee. I just drink coffee. That's it. I used to take pre-workouts like NO Explode back in the day, Super Pump 250. I never really was a big fan of it. Then you had like Nano Vapor for Muscle Tech, and Jacked was probably my favorite one. Jack 3D was probably my absolute favorite pre-workout. That was the one that definitely got you moving. Like even if you didn't want to move, you take a scoop of that. It was amazing. But the problem with that, like anything else, is excuse me, the water's making me burp. What Like with anything else, you build immunity to it, right? You would get like a tolerance, and then that one scoop wouldn't work, then you go to a scoop and a half, and you go to 2 scoops and 2.5 scoops, and then after that, it's just kind of like there's no point in taking this no more. It's taking way too much. It's not doing nearly enough as it should be, so I stopped taking it. I was always very cautious on how much I took as stimulants. Same thing for NO Explode. The first time I ever took NO Explode, the original one, man, I took that and I was in the shower. I just got home from work. I was working the plants 12 hours a day. I was working 7/12s. I'm sitting there washing my hair, getting ready to get cleaned up, because working 7/12s with concrete all day, you don't want to go to the gym being covered in concrete and then work out. So it's courteous to the gym equipment and then the other gym goers. So I was taking a shower, washing my hair, and then all of a sudden I was just like, oh my God, I got to hurry and get to the gym, and hurried up, got out, got dressed. When the gym had one of the most aggressive workouts of my life. And then probably like 2 months later, that wasn't working for me no more. So then I had to go to a scoop and a half and 2 scoops. The maximum they would want you to take is 3 scoops. And then we started calling it NO Asplode, because like it had 400 milligrams of magnesium in it per serving. 400 is the daily recommended dose of magnesium. So you end up taking 1,200 milligrams of magnesium for 3 scoops, which it's way over your daily dose. So it pretty much just turns you liquid. Like 30 minutes after drinking it, you're on the toilet. And then we started calling like Super Dump 250.
you know, NO Asplo, like I said. So we came up with stupid little nicknames for it that are funny that we would call them. I'm sure other people did too. And it was just horrible. So when we got to that point, it's like, this is uh, more aggravating than it is helpful. So I stopped drinking that and I stopped taking them altogether. They got to the point where I wasn't taking any pre workouts. Then I started drinking Monsters and Rock Stars and Red Bulls, and those would just make me burpy and gassy. And it's just the whole time I'm burping nonstop, and they didn't really give me the energy I was looking for. So then eventually got to the point where I just started drinking coffee. I was actually started off drinking instant coffee, and then after I started getting familiar with a terrible taste of instant coffee, I actually had actual coffee, just straight black coffee, and it was amazing compared to instant coffee. So then from ever since then, it's just I drink coffee. If I need more energy, I drink more. Like if I'm having a heavy like deadlift squat session, like I'm doing squats or doing deadlifts, a big movement like that, like back night or leg night, I'll drink probably 16 ounces of coffee. On a regular night, 8 to 10 ounces of coffee. So it varies. And then I don't drink any other form of caffeine or take any other form of caffeine. The only caffeine I get is from my supplements and stuff like that. That's basically also from my supplements. I'm sorry. The only caffeine I get is from my coffee from my workout. I don't drink any soda. I don't eat anything with any trace of caffeine in it at all if I can avoid it. So that way, when I do take caffeine, it works for me. And then if I'm not working out, I don't drink it. I don't drink it on the weekends. I don't drink it at work. I only drink it one time a day, and that's for my pre-workout, and that's it. That way, it has maximum effect with a minimum amount of potency. So I don't have to drink a whole lot of it to get a whole lot out of it. So, but all right, well, my food's starting to cool down enough where I can actually eat it. I'm going to go ahead and get this delicious bland meal down, and then I'll see you guys in the gym. It's only 12 o'clock now, so I have one more meal after this of chicken and rice, and I'll drink my coffee, and then I'm going to be in the gym. So I'll see you guys in the gym.
Let's see how this sounds, because I know the audio's been pretty bad in here. So I got this little cheap mic. I've had it for a while, but for some reason, sometimes the receiver connects to the phone, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know if the receiver on the phone is messing up or if it's the actual device that's messing up or not. Because sometimes whenever I try to plug this phone in to charge, it'll boop, 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 and then it won't connect to the phone. So I have to pull it out and put it back in and turn it around and wiggle it, and then finally it'll hook up. So I don't know if the mic is the problem or if it's the phone port that's the problem. It could possibly be the phone port, and if it is, I might have to look at using a different phone for recording in here, because if this little mic works for what I need, I don't want to have to go out and spend $200 on the better mic. Okay, so tonight it's shoulders and arms. It's Wednesday, day 3 of the suffering. I got my egg whites and my oatmeal in for breakfast. I got my 3 meals of chicken and rice in with green beans, very bland like normal. The volume was a lot more than usual, but my stomach actually feels really well. I've taken all my supplements today. Everything's going good. So I'm going to start off with shoulders and do some shoulder press and see how tonight goes on this. I like to play around the shoulders. I never really go too heavy on them. I used to go with a wider grip on these, like real wide and kind of like here, but now I kind of bring my arms more here just because it's a lot more comfortable on the shoulder as they're pretty beat up. And I learned that I don't have to use a super wide grip, even on bench press, to accomplish what I'm after. So, and I'm going to start off with 10 of these. So I'll actually do 8 sets of shoulder press, doing 2 sets of 10, then 8, then 6, then 5. And then tonight I drank 10 ounces of coffee. I don't feel like I need more than that really to get me going for tonight, especially because it's just arms and shoulders, it's small muscles. I don't require a whole lot of output of force to be able to do these movements. Now, tomorrow night is leg night, so I'll probably drink 16 ounces of coffee. But speaking of coffee and pre-workouts, I'm actually thinking about running the ECA stack. For those of you who don't know, it's ephedra, caffeine, and aspirin. You take like 0.25 or 25 milligrams, I can't remember, of ephedrine a day with about 70 milligrams of, I think one baby aspirin basically, then 200 milligrams of caffeine, and together and it can increase weight loss up to 10 to 15%. Again, I'm debating on doing it. I've been debating for a while on doing it. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, so I'm going to wait all of May and then push through until June, and then see maybe if I want to run it. Because if I do run it, it's only going to be for 6 weeks. I'm not going to run it long. Maybe like, because all you really need is 6 weeks, because then your body's going to start adapting to the ephedrine and the caffeine and everything else. So if I do decide to do it, I'll let you guys know if I decide to take that plunge and go for that. Because, you know, I'm 37. I'm not getting any younger. Now is the time to do it if I'm going to do it. And now is the time to push through and really like put my best foot forward and give it everything I got. It's one of those things that's like, do I need to do the stack? Probably not. But will it help me get results faster? Yeah, absolutely. Before I do anything like that, though, adding an ephedrine, all that stuff, before I do anything like that, first things first is I'm going to make sure that my diet, my training, and cardio is working. So if I'm coming down about 2 pounds a week, pound and a half, 2 pounds a week, I don't see the need to add it in. If I'm only losing about half a pound a week, then I'm going to more than likely add it in. But I want to make sure that my bland food is working. You know, my blood pressure's in check. Make sure my blood pressure's in check. It's where it needs to be. Make sure that my weight loss is according. My hydration is, everything's how it should be and according to what it needs to be in order to run it. So that way I get the maximum amount of results out of it, because I'm not trying to hurt myself for the long run, but I do have a goal, and that's the end of July. I'm doing this and trying to make the absolute most amount of results that I can possibly make by the end of July, which is 3 months. Some people will say, oh, that's cheating. You shouldn't have to do that to get your results. Nah, I don't care about all that. What's cheating, what's not. Yeah, I don't care about all that. And then even the whole unhealthy thing, like if you're like, oh, what's bad for your heart, blah, 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 blah. So is dying. Dying's bad for your heart too. And again, I don't even know if I'm going to take it or not. I don't even know if I'm going to run it. I may decide to not even do it. Because if I'm losing 2 pounds a week, I don't need it. That's crazy weight loss alone, 2 pounds a week. So I take that and it bumps it up to 3 to 4 pounds a week. I don't want to burn up too much size and mass either. And the fear of losing a lot of muscle mass is there too, because it's like, man, you start losing 3 or 4 pounds a week from your diet, cardio, training, and then supplements. It's like, I don't want to get skinny, like the wrong kind of skinny. I don't want to be like scrawny skinny. Like, yeah, I have abs, but you know, when the wind blows, I get cold. Update on the heartburn. I haven't had any heartburn today at all, which is great. And I always say, like, it takes me about 3 to 4 days starting a diet for the heartburn to go away. Today's day 3, and the heartburn is gone. So I haven't had any heartburn at all today whatsoever. I don't know why my body does that, but every single time I start a diet, doesn't matter what diet I do, intermittent fasting, carnivore, vegan, not that I've ever done vegan, but like standard bodybuilding, it doesn't matter, high fat, high carbs, low fiber, low fiber, doesn't matter what I've done. Anytime I start a diet, I always get heartburn for the first 3 to 4 days. Well, this time I got it for 2 days. Today's day 3, and I haven't had any heartburn. So I'm really, really happy about that. That's it for shoulder press. We're moving on to side laterals now. I'm going to do side laterals for 5 sets of 20, pyramiding up to 17 pounds. And then if I hit 17 for all 20 reps, then I'll go up next week, which I don't think I'm going to hit 17 for 20 reps, because I just went up. I'm actually just going up tonight to 17, since last week I finally hit 15 for 20 reps. And it doesn't sound like a lot of weight, but you do enough reps, anything becomes incredibly heavy, incredibly heavy. Normally when I'm doing side laterals, I keep the weight light enough where I can do 5 sets of 20 with the same weight, starting off with whatever weight that is, but getting up to 17 pounds, doing 5 sets of 20, I start getting a click in my shoulder because last week, whenever I tried starting with the 15s, I started getting a real bad click and a pain in my shoulder because I hurt the shoulder back in February changing a tire out. So I'm not going to rush trying to hurry up and do a whole lot of heavy weight fast. I'm going to take my time warming up and making sure it feels right. And if it doesn't feel right, I'm going to use lighter weight. If that still doesn't feel right, I'll change that out for something completely different. I'm not in a hurry to get hurt. I'm in a hurry to get big. I'm in a hurry to get jacked and ripped, not hurt. Because if you're hurt, you can't really do much. Like I said in my other video, whenever me and Richard are training together, he does his set, I do my set, he does his set back to back without rest, besides waiting for the person to get done with their set. So it's a good rest period because it takes you around 30 seconds to a minute to do a set. So it's kind of perfectly timed out. But whenever I go to do my top set on everything I do, I like to rest a little bit longer. I like to push the rest to closer to 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, instead of doing just the 30 seconds to a minute. I just feel like my muscles are fatigued, and not a good fatigue for a top set. Like I want to get as much as I can out of this last set, and I want to push myself as hard as I can on this last set. And if I'm still too fatigued, my muscles aren't like replenished and ready to go 100%, then I feel like I'm leaving a lot in the tank. I can get carried away with trying to hurry up and rush and doing it like back to back to back to back to back to back real fast. And I get caught up in trying to go quick and not the quality of the movement and just going through the motions. And then whenever powerlifting, I get caught up on taking these big, huge, long rest periods that are overly exaggerated and way too long and unnecessarily long. So when I'm getting to the top set, 30 seconds to a minute. When I hit the top set, about 2 minutes, maybe 3, depending on the movement. And then I like to hit it again, getting everything I can out of that set for those reps. And that way I know that I'm not leaving nothing on the tank. And my last set does look a lot different than my first set because I do slow it down and I control and I put a lot more effort into this top set. Moving on to front laterals. Front laterals, I'm also moving up to 17s tonight for the first time for this routine. So I'm going to start with the 7.5s and move up to the 17s. And again, my first set does not look like my last set. My first 4 sets are fast and sloppy-ish. My last set is very slow to control, and I'm not saying this is how you need to train or anyone should train like this. It's just how I like training. So, at least for the time being, because I change my routine up if I get bored or stagnant. If you notice the spectacular and precision form of pure perfection, known as the Richard swing. This allows you to isolate your shoulders while involving the lumbar, the hamstrings, even the sciatic. It's a pure over. So it's a progressive overload of the central nervous sciatic. A little body English is good, man. I think some people get carried away and they with a 4-pound dumbbell, 3-pound dumbbell, and they're like, no, this is, you gotta get big. Little popping. It's not gonna hurt nothing. It's not gonna cause any issues. If anything, it just allows you to handle a heavier weight versus what you would normally handle and stuff. And I do that towards the end of my set, man. I always pop and swing and put a little English in there because if I could get 1 or 2 more reps, I will. I'm trying not to do that with this training program just because I'm doing so much cardio. I don't want to overload and then end up atrophying the muscles by pushing them too hard while being in a deficit because I'm in such a big deficit. But yeah, it's not something I'm afraid of to do, if especially in the bulk. I think in a bulk especially, like, you can get away with it. So this is my top set right here. I rested about 2 minutes, and this is definitely going to look a lot different than my first 4 sets. So moving on to rear delts. This might seem like a lot of work for the shoulders because I'm also doing this for 5 sets of actually 10-ish, 10 to 12-ish, 10 to 15-ish. But this may seem like a lot of work for the shoulders because it's a small muscle, but that's why we go light, use high volume. I used to go super heavy on my shoulders, and I learned as I got older, it didn't really matter if I went heavy and did low reps or I went light and did greater volume, like light weights, higher reps. My shoulders responded. Fortunately for me, my shoulders respond. They don't look as good as they could, and they don't look as good as they have in the past. But my shoulders typically have responded really well over my lifting lifespan of from 14 to 37, where it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm going to get stimulus out of them, and they're going to respond. So I'm very fortunate where I don't have small shoulders. I got that genetic disposition of more cap shoulders, which I know it's like, oh, you liar, I can see you. I'm watching the video, you liar. But I'm telling you, it's a lot more impressive in the dark from a distance when you're not directly looking at me. With my arm training, I normally superset straight bar curls or hammer curls, but I'm not doing nothing like that this program. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to do 5 sets of 20 on the straight bar, working up to 65 pounds, because last week I did 65 for 19. So I'm going to try to get 65 for 20. And then I'm going to do 3 sets of hammer curls, not supersetted, just straight 3 sets of hammer curls, and see how that goes. And the reason why I don't do a whole lot of work on my biceps like everything else is because I get a lot of indirect bicep work with my back movements, pull downs, barbell rows, T-bar rows. There's a lot of indirect bicep. You say, well, there's a lot of indirect bicep work with your shoulders too, with your chest and your back. That is true, but like I said earlier, I'm just one of those guys that my shoulders respond quite well. And I don't know if it's maybe a mixture of like the heavy lifting from chest and back mixed with the light lifting from shoulder night. Like when I'm doing shoulders, I don't really need to lift heavy on them because I already lifted heavy. I just need to get blood in there to stimulate them. Now, I don't know how much of that is true or not, but just, thinking out loud. What's funny is I see all these different techniques and forms on curling, and then they talk about you using a full range of motion, all this other stuff. But I mean, technically, if you pull your elbows back and you curl to your sternum, right to here, I got called out in the gym when I used to work at a commercial gym before this. I was leaning forward slightly and I was curling like this. And the guy said, hey man, you're only doing half curls. You're not going all the way up. You got to curl all the way up to get a full curl. So I looked at him and I said, okay, if I pitch forward like this, pull my elbows back and I curl here, right? And then I posture up to here. My shoulder didn't move at all. Neither did my elbow. It's just the position it looks, because that's the movement to get it to your face, right? Because if you go from here, you curl your arm all the way up as high as it can go, can't go no higher than this. So if you slightly pitch forward, and pull your elbows back, it looks like you're parallel to the ground, so you're not curling all the way up. But if you posture up and then you bring your shoulders forward, now your arms are up and down. But technically, the load is no longer on the bicep, right? You figured, where's the load at? It's not on the bicep, it's more on the shoulder. But if you pull your elbows back and lean forward here at the top of the movement, all the weight's on the bicep because it's pulling the arms straight back down. So the peak contraction, your bicep is holding. But if you come up here and you come up here, where's the weight at? It's vertical. So that's just something that I always stuck with me. And I was in my mid-20s whenever that happened. And I was just kind of like, look here, buddy. And I showed him in the mirror. Then after that, he pretty much said some stuff under his breath. And like, well, then do it your way. And blah, 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 blah. And ran his mouth and everything else. But I'm not saying that's the proper way to curl or that's the way people should curl. But I'm just saying, like, if you think about the function of the bicep, it's to retract the palm to the shoulder. And you can only go so far, regardless of where the shoulder joint's at. It can only, whether it's here, or it's here, or here, or here, it can only come in so far. So leaning forward and pulling the elbows back, it seems like that puts more on the bicep and at the top position instead of being like this. Then people say, well, the bicep tendon ties into the top of the shoulder, so if you do train like this,
then you're actually getting the top of the bicep and the shoulder. Well, I mean, they could be right. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I just know I feel it a lot more if I slightly pitch forward, pull my elbows back, and then curl up my sternum. I've always liked hammer curls, even whenever I was younger. I love doing hammer curls. There's just something about it. If you want to get your grip strength up, grab the dumbbell at the bottom of the handle. Don't grab it at the top and let it rest on your hand. Grab at the bottom and squeeze it as hard as you can, and that'll build your grip strength up and your forearm too. But I always like doing these because I feel like it just makes the bottom of the bicep look thicker because it hits the brachialis and everything in there. Some people say they work, some people say don't, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I like doing them. And there's so many different ways to do them, but I just like doing them cross body. Pretty simple workout for your biceps. Just 5 sets of straight bar curls and then 5 sets of hammer curls, and that's it. Pretty straightforward. So for triceps, we do 5 sets of V-bar, and we're going to do 5 sets of 20 with 100 pounds. Each set 100 pounds for 20 reps, and if we get all 20, then we'll go up next week, and then we'll do 3 sets of rope press downs for sets of 15, pyramiding up to a top set, and then try to go from there. And that's basically our arm training. Very simple, very easy, basic. Nothing complicated, nothing hardcore, nothing scientific about it. Just try to lift a little bit more than you did last week. And the reason why I think training journals are important is because I've done it many times before, and I've seen people do it in the past many times before. Is you'll come into the gym one day and you're feeling tired or worn out or drained. So you try to take it easy that day, and you're like, well, instead of benching 225 for 10, I'm going to bench 205 for 10. And the next time you come in, you're like, man, it's feeling heavy tonight. So instead of doing 205 for 10, I'm going to do 205 for 8. The next time you come in, you're like, man, I'm kind of tired. Instead of doing 205, I'm just going to work up to 185 and do it for like 10 or 15 and be done. And you literally detrain yourself and you go backwards and you actually regress in your progress. And the next thing you know, all your numbers are down, your lifts are down, you're looking soft. So even though you're tired and you don't feel like you can lift that weight, looking at the journal, being like, well, I did V-bar press downs for 5 sets of 20. I might be tired tonight, but I can at least do 5 sets of 15 to 20. I may not be able to get all 5 sets of 20, but I can get at least 5 sets of 15 to 20. Or maybe I could go up to 110 and do it for 10 to 15 reps instead of 15 to 20 reps. 10 to 15 instead of 15 to 20. And you can at least make some type of forward progress. It just helps keep you honest with yourself and your lifts, because training instinctual is incredible and it's incredibly important. But I feel like having a visual log of what your training and your numbers are keeps you more honest with yourself. Not everyone needs it, and I don't always train like that, but whenever I'm really serious about my results, I train like that. Well, this is pretty much it for Wednesday. I have one more set of rope press down, and that's it. I'm going to jump on the Stairmaster for 20 minutes after this. Take my protein shake when I'm done, 3 scoops of whey and water, and then I'll have egg whites for dinner again, bland, no seasoning. This is the suffering. So I'm doing everything as difficult as possible, including no seasoning or anything of the sort. Just trying to get the absolute most amount of results that I can in the absolute shortest amount of time that I can. So I was going somewhere with that. I forgot the direction I was heading in. But either way it goes, that's it for day 3 of the suffering. I appreciate you guys watching and checking us out. Come tomorrow, I'll be back in here at 5:30 on the Stairmaster doing cardio. And those of you who are interested, I'll see you then.